All right, enough Bayern and Real Madrid, Jules. We got to do this. We got to go. We got to talk about Paris Saint-Germain.
That's okay, my friend. That's okay.
We were both there, losing at home to Borussia Dortmund. I'm going to lay out the Luis Enrique case.
Yeah.
And then you can say, is he right? And does it hurt less as a result?
Yeah.
He came out and he said Paris Saint-Germain were more deserving over the two legs because they had a far higher XG. I think it was more than 3. And they hit the woodwork 4 times. Is he right?
Factually, he's right in terms of chances. And yeah, the expected goals is much higher than Dortmund over the two legs as well. If you don't take your chances at that level, you don't deserve to go through. If you gift an opposition a goal like they did on Tuesday, you don't deserve to go through. It's all it is. At some point, those games are decided on details, on how efficient you are in the two boxes, when you defend, when you attack. One team was very clinical, and they were a bit lucky. Yeah, of course, when you say 4 times in the same half, by the way, by your woodwork and your post, your crossbar, you ride your luck a little bit. But I think they've earned that right. Dortmund, they were again magnificent. I thought in terms of unity and playing with their heart and the way they defended. And PSG were far too predictable, so it was easier for them to defend. But if you can't take your chances at that level, you don't deserve to go through. It's simple as that.
I completely agree with your interpretation. I think his interpretation is completely wrong. And I would say I was disappointed in Luis Enrique in, he made a call by playing Gonzalo Ramos up front, center forward. I didn't think that worked out. I thought the first half, Paris Saint-Germain produced very little. And when you put out all your woodwork and XG and stuff like that, hey, that's great. How much of that came after Dortmund scored? And how much of that, you're two times hitting the woodwork. 2 of those are people just blasting the ball from 30 yards out. You will create more chances because you've got much better players. I don't even want to pretend to start playing a combined 11 game between these two, right? Because it would be 8-3, 9-2, whatever. Maybe more, actually. And yes, Beraldo makes a mistake and he's young and whatever. I think not just losing Hummels on the goal. I thought Beraldo was completely lackadaisical, as if he didn't understand the occasion on the night.
Well, like same against Barca in the first leg, to be fair. And that's why he didn't start the second leg. But Marquinhos should never have given away that corner. It's an easy pass to Donnarumma, a pass that you and I would make. I don't understand how Marquinhos cannot make that pass and give away a corner that is then very well taken by Rose. Beraldo's mistake. When you think that a few minutes before, Zaire Emery has the chance, really the biggest chance of all, is the one that Zaire Emery puts on the post. He's an 18-year-old, and then Beraldo, 20-year-old, make the mistake a few minutes later. And this is it. The game is gone after that. The atmosphere in the ground was still amazing. But
it was remarkable.
But you could tell that there was just no way back, I thought.
Just a word on the atmosphere. It was remarkable, both from the traveling Dortmund fans and also Paris Saint-Germain, the Virage Autour, kept it up throughout and then applauded the players afterwards.
Yeah, incredible.
Had I been in there, I might not have applauded Lucho. And I say this is a big Lucho fan. What I find remarkable here about Borussia Dortmund, and I wrote a column about this, which was kind of contrasting. This is like a John Hughes film, right? Where you've got the pretty girl who everybody wants, who in this case is Mbappe, sorry for being portrayed as a woman, and this group of misfits, freaks, unwanteds, rejects, which is basically Borussia Dortmund right now, right? Maatsen, unwanted by Chelsea. Sancho, unwanted by Manchester United. Sabitzer, unwanted by Bayern. That's why they're all there. And we can look at the reasons why. And yet all three play such a big role in this. And it goes further, right? Süle, Hummels. These are people who are there because their clubs didn't want them anymore because they said you're too rubbish or you're too old. Even Füllkrug, unwanted by everybody until he was 29 years old. I mean, this is a story, right? This to me means something. Adeyemi, the guy who didn't score for like 9 months, starts on one wing, and you have Sancho, who, if you listen to the United media, is like the devil incarnate, and these guys come through and make a difference. And this is part of the great story, I think, of why this sport is special. But to go back to Luis Enrique, I'm sorry, before that, but to go back to the pretty girl who everybody wanted, I was really disappointed in Kylian until the last half hour. And L'Équipe were even more disappointed. I don't like to talk about L'Équipe player ratings, people make too much a deal out of it. But 2 out of 10 for his last Champions League game with Paris Saint-Germain, presumably.
Yeah.
That's harsh, no?
Yeah, it is a bit harsh. Dembele had the 2 out of 10 because there was no end product in anything that he was trying to do. I don't know. I guess we saw Kylian after the game and he said, I should have done more. I didn't do enough. Almost saying that big players like him deliver usually those games, and he didn't. So in the end, he deserves, I think, what he got.
All right, Jules, just a few more minutes of discussing this.
But just on Kylian, at least he came out and said, it's on me.
He took ownership.
Lucho said it the same. I don't know if it's more on Luis Enrique, more on Mbappe. But yeah, the old saying that big games belong to big players, blah, blah, blah. But again, we saw Vini with Real Madrid, for example. I know he didn't win it directly because Joselu won it. But you see what I mean? I think for PSG to have gone through, even if all of them were not very good first leg or second leg, to be fair, as a team, they lacked intensity. I thought they lacked energy, a bit of creativity. Apart from Vitinha, who was outstanding in both games, it was really the only one that played at his level.
Little Vitinha was exceptional.
What a player. Incredible. But for Kylian, it will. And the thing is, 7 seasons will, and all we will probably remember, or not all of it, but most of it will be this semi-final, first leg, second leg, where you were so close to a final, which would have been a dream last game for him. And instead, it will be a massive failure.
I think we'll remember more than that. We'll probably also remember the final he failed to win.
True, but then again, he missed that big chance at 0-0, that shot that he aimed at Neuer, and then that was his chance as well to win that, or to at least make a big step toward winning it. So there's those key moments, especially in the Champions League, the semi-final against City, where he was not fair. The club is still saying that they're not too convinced he wasn't fair. So there's those moments, and unfortunately they happened a lot in the Champions League.
So this is the first time I saw Mbappe in person, and when you watch on television, you often have a slightly different perspective. I get that with Deschamps in France and in the past, like, oh look, we've lost possession. Okay, Kylian, go stand between the center forwards, and we'll worry about defending, and we'll try to get the ball to use an outlet. I get that Deschamps does that because he's Deschamps and he's done fine doing that. But I kind of thought, Lucho, you're here because you're Luis Enrique. You're here because we heard of this whole sort of more team-oriented situation and everything. And I was a bit surprised to the degree, especially in a game like this where you've got the adrenaline, the involvement. When Paris Saint-Germain stepped onto the pitch, they were a goal down, right, from the first leg. So it felt like for a lot of the game, he was playing within himself, even off the ball, even a run back to help Nuno Mendes or whatever. Something like that can also fire up and can also galvanize. And when the other guys, Dembele put in a shift defensively. Ramos, I thought, was kind of impalpable when he was out there. And I just thought that on the situations when Dortmund attacked, it took Paris Saint-Germain far longer than it should have to have won the ball back. I mean,
I think their pressing structure was not good. It was not good in the first leg when they had Dembele on Emre Can and Riasson on his own. I don't think it was good in the second leg where Emre Can was a lot on his own because they changed it. And you had Ramos, Dembele and Mbappe in that first line of pressing. They got it.
It's really just Ramos and Dembele in the first line of pressing.
Well, Kylian had to go onto one of the centre backs and cobble. But that's what Kylian does. I mean, on Monday in his press conference, Luis Enrique said everybody has to defend, even your best player. He didn't name Mbappe, but it was clearly like even Mbappe has to defend.
When I saw Schlotterbeck hit a couple diagonals because he had all the time in the world, and it's obvious that if you look at that back line, who's the guy you're going to leave the ball to? It's going to be Schlotterbeck, right? It's not going to be Hummels because he can hit a pass certainly better than Schlotterbeck. Not that Schlotterbeck's terrible, but right. But obviously, right, Rierson can carry the ball. And I'm like, dude, there's 2 defenders. Mbappe, you're quick. At least if you're going to stand near them, shut it down.
Mbappe can't shut down Schlotterbeck though, because that's not his position. That's Gonzalo Ramos's.
But that's not what was happening. But I looked to me anyway that Ramos was dropping off and they were pressing there. And he was being left. Yeah,
there was Emre Can to take in consideration as well. I was surprised because 1-0 down. And I think 1-0 down is an interesting deficit to have, really, just to finish quickly, because you could go all guns blazing, and maybe that's what PSG and Luis Enrique should have done. So you go literally 1v1 everywhere on the pitch. So you let Fulkrug directly with Beraldo or Marquinhos pushing to, so everybody has just a player. So there's no free player at all for Dortmund, but that's very risky, obviously, because if somebody's beaten, then
you have to be Atalanta away at Anfield to do that.
You know, but you know, City do it, Arsenal do it, but can you do it at that level? I don't know. But then the problem is, if you don't do that, it feels like you don't really put much intensity in, and that's certainly the feeling that we had, and I think the whole stadium and everybody even watching on television had, is that PSG were not really going for it when they were a goal down after the first leg. Maybe because they didn't want to take too many risks at the start, but then when do you take the risk? When do you? I don't know. I thought that first half was weird, but they haven't been good in first half this season. Against Real Sociedad at home, against Bayern Munich at home, away at Dortmund in that first leg. I mean, even in the group stages of the Champions League. So first halves is not theirs, but I think it's a massive opportunity missed, because this Dortmund team deserve credit. Edin Terzic is great, and he's a fan, and he's lovely story again, but they were there for the taking. They're not an amazing team really, and PSG should, over 2 games with the second leg in Paris, PSG should have beaten them.
You mentioned Terzic there. He is a good story. He's also somebody who was on the verge of getting sacked like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, who I think there's a strong case to make at the end of this season. You know, Dortmund are going to finish 5th, most likely. Yeah, they'll be in the Champions League, and they're in the Champions League final. But when you look at the job he's done this season, you look at what Dortmund have been, there's still a case. If you can get somebody better, it's time to move on, no? I mean, he's had a lot of time there.
Yeah, and they're not going to move him on. He's going to stay, surely.
Because they're going to make an emotional decision and go to the Champions League final.
Because in a way, he's shown his credentials in the Champions League, no? Really. There's a lot of good things from the group stage, from the first game in the group stage against Paris, where he messed it up, to be fair. But after that, he corrected everything. And they were good. They rode their luck a little bit in the Milan games, to be fair. But
in the first leg, I think. In the second leg, not so much.
Yeah. But certainly in Milan, where they were outplayed, outshot, out-expected XG, out everything, and they still managed to get a draw that helped them massively.
That was in Dortmund.
Yeah.
That was in Dortmund. In Milan, they won. But yeah. No, I take your point. But it's just...
The league is different.
But the league is what you measure, because you play against everybody else and you look for progress. And when I look at this, when I ask myself, all right, which of these players has improved, which of these players, you know, obviously Daniel Malin wasn't there, whatever. You could argue he has improved this season, right? Adeyemi, with the run he had of not scoring and in and out. Sebastian Haller is obviously not in the picture. You take Sabitzer on loan. Sean is older. I'm thinking to myself, what are we building towards? You had 3 players on loan in that lineup. Okay, Maatsen you can hope to keep. Maybe you can even keep Sabitzer. Sancho, I don't know. But it just seems so patchwork, so haphazard. And this is the team, which is the second biggest team in Germany. So it's not all on Terzic. But look, I agree with you. I think he will stick around. But I think he needs to progress. Final point. I love this from Matt Sommels. He's like, well, after the group stage, everybody described us as the team that everyone wanted to play against. Yeah. So we're being kind, because by staying in this competition, we give more teams the opportunity to play against us. I thought.
It's brilliant. I mean, his social media is really good. If you remember the Farmers League one, after they qualified for the semi-final as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't, whether it's him
nice guy,
or whether he's got a guy doing it for him, doesn't matter. But we're all Team Hummels here.
Definitely.